wonderful good morning from Guangzhou. Today is Sunday the 26th April and we are going to the Canton Fair. That's what's special about this trade fair. It's always on the same date. So the 26th April is phase 2 or a day of phase 2. The 26th. October is always a day of phase 2 in the autumn edition. In 2027 it's the same. That means the day of the week shifts and that's why we're here on a Sunday today. By the way, the badge is valid for a lifetime. So don't throw it away when you come back from the Canton Fair. Crystal, who's behind the camera, is here for the first time, so she needs a new badge which is free. If she loses it, she'll have to pay for it next time. Another motivation not to lose your badge. This is the registration hall. This is where you get your badge. It's better to quickly register on the website beforehand, but you can also do everything here. Before I forget, you need an original passport, that is your original travel passport. Otherwise, you can't proceed here. This is Crystal, and she already registered in advance, so she did a pre-registration using a QR code. And now it should go pretty quickly for her to get her badge handed over directly. At least they are extremely well organized here. The thing is, I just praised how maximally digital China is. And now for phase 2 here, there are really only printed books available, with all the information about the manufacturers exhibiting here. And we just asked if there's also a PDF version available. Unfortunately, there isn't. And since we won't be attending phase 3, I asked if I could get the book for phase 3, so at least I could already look up the manufacturer contacts from there. They don't have that either. Only the printed version for phase 2 is available, just for phase 2. When I get to phase 3, there are only books for phase 3, but then not anymore for phases 1 and 2. A bit of a shame, but well, it is what it is. That's a typical beginner Crystal. It's her first time at the Canton Fair, and she just took a few shots here. And then she noticed the sign here, no photos. And so she wanted to delete the shots right away. Yes, a rule. Maybe that's something everyone can remember. You can break rules, but not laws. At the very least, you should break the rules if it gives you an advantage. But of course, that's understandable. The designs they've created here are a lot of work. And of course, they don't want every half-baked entrepreneur to just copy what they've spent hours or even years developing here. That's absolutely understandable to me. But some things aren't worth protecting. Some designs are just so random, where I would say, okay, whether I take a photo of that or not, in the end, it doesn't really matter. All right, but they're proud of their products and don't want them all over the internet and then reproduced by just anyone. We accept that as far as possible. But sometimes I just can't understand it. Because at the latest, once it's up for sale, everyone has seen it anyway. You can't just hide your products in an Amazon listing. That doesn't make any sense. So for example, take this cat here. I've seen it somewhere before. And if you order this design now and it violates any copyrights, then you're in trouble. Not the manufacturer, but you as the importer are 100% responsible for the goods and their legality. It doesn't matter whether you're importing to Europe or the USA, you have to take responsibility, and not the factory that printed it at the end of the day. All right. The friendliness of the Chinese as well when things go quickly. Crystal had just taken a whole bunch of photos in the gallery, and after she was done with everything, the lady said that it wasn't allowed for him. Well, at least we were allowed to finish our shots. I was just having a discussion with Crystal. Here on the left side, we have the large factories exhibiting. These are the extensive, well-designed booths with many category-specific products. And on this side, if we take a look in here, on this side are the small factories. You can already see it. The booths are no longer so elaborate or well-designed. They've simply just placed the products inside. The advantage of small factories is that they are often very flexible and can offer better prices. You can quickly get in touch, even with the managers, and you have the maximum opportunity to customize products. The downside of these small factories is, well, to put it another way, you usually start with small factories because they are more flexible and have lower MOQs. The downside of the smaller ones is that they don't have compliance as well under control as the larger ones do. And above all, when you scale up, that is, when you need larger quantities in a shorter period of time, then the big factories are definitely the better choice. So, in terms of your journey, it means you start with small factories until you've grown enough in the category to be able to switch to the big ones. Better compliance, better scalability, and very often also better quality. We tend to believe that there are either only trading agencies or only factories. That does not correspond to the truth. For example, here at this booth, I would say that for the most part they are trading agencies because they have various products from a wide range of categories. We have bags, then here the mats, or what else do we have here? Or here, these carrying bags. Most of these booths have their own production for a portion of the products they exhibit here. And the other part they sell as a trading agency. This means, for example, that this factory here might manufacture the bags, but in the trading segment they also offer the sleeping mats we saw earlier. So there is no black and white. There isn't just a trading agency and there isn't just a factory. Most of them operate in hybrid mode. For those who want to differentiate themselves with their product selection, I've talked about this several times before, a chessboard like this is a very, very good option. It's a tactile experience, which is something you hardly get anymore. We live in a digital world, and a chessboard like this is not just a game, it's also a decorative item. And here I've just found a manufacturer who really makes wonderful boards like this one here, for example. You won't get these for 20 euros. These are in the high price range. You might pay 80, 90 or even 100 euros for them when sold on Amazon. Are they being offered? And you might buy them for 20 or 30 euros. But they really make an impression, not just for playing, but also as decoration. Very well suited, just like these poker sets here. Here you have these chips and the individual poker games, which you can also use as decoration. Just imagine inviting friends over and then you have such a wonderful designer poker set. Or maybe a best friend you have with whom you can play chess with a truly outstanding chessboard. That makes sense. And people are willing to pay more money for that. If you have such a huge chessboard, then it's really just about the price. There, it's really only the game itself that's in focus. Here, it's the design and at the end of the day, also the tactile experience that are in focus. Well, this here is already a cheaper version. These are also travel chessboards here. I'm not really a fan of those, but rather of these decorative items here. That makes sense. That's something special. That's sold in the high price segment. That's blue ocean, and this here is red ocean in terms of sales strategy. And it's better not to go into the red ocean, but to move in the blue ocean. That's my business. Thank you so much. Here too, there's a tic-tac-toe game, also in a good design. That obviously makes sense. But what I would do as an improvement, I would make it a bit magnetic, because if I set it up like this, these pieces slide down. That obviously doesn't make much sense then. So it would probably be better if some small magnets had been incorporated here. Then I could even hang it on the wall as a picture. That way I have a dual use right away. So now we have these fragrance sticks here. These are also known in Europe. And if you decide on such a product, you always have to keep in mind that it's extremely difficult to carry out quality control here. Because of course the sticks and the liquid will always be fine, but whether the fragrance intensity always remains the same and is achievable, and also the shelf life of these fragrance essentials. That's always the question, and it's something you can't really check during quality control. Because the inspector might also start smelling it, but he doesn't know what the original scent is supposed to be. And he can't brief it either. He has a written briefing, and you can maybe only describe a scent in writing, but not, well, how should I put it, the actual outcome that you expect. Yes, and not the intensity either, nor the longevity. How long does it actually smell? Yes, 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks. Yes, at first you certainly get a good oil, which might last for a month. Then by the 5th order, you might not get oil that lasts 5 months anymore, but maybe only 3 weeks. And the person who bought the oil from you the first time thinks, hey, this is great, I'll buy it again, and is disappointed with the next batch. That's so typical. Anti-dumping strategy. Now we have a product here that has probably been subjected to punitive tariffs in the USA and Europe. And this factory, this company, has the strategy of shipping via Vietnam. And supposedly this allows them to import duty-free into the European Union or possibly also into the USA. These candles here now. The point is that's actually correct. There is a free trade agreement between Europe and Vietnam. Number one is to check whether this category is included. Yes, not all categories are included. Number two is the production. The essential production, of course, has to take place in Vietnam. So it's not enough if the production takes place in China and the goods are then exported to Vietnam. It's simply packaged there and then sent to the European Union with new labels. You have to be able to prove that the essential production steps really took place in Vietnam. If that's not the case, customs can prove, or rather you can't prove, that it was so. In other words, you have to prove it was so upon request. And if you can't prove it, then you still have to pay the duties, including anti-dumping duties. They're currently streaming on 4 platforms. And because the phones regularly overheat, they've attached an extra fan behind each phone to ensure proper cooling here. You can immediately tell this isn't his first time doing this. And she's also a very good assistant. Zooms in, zooms out. She has to do that with the tripod because she can't operate all 4 phones at the same time. And that's why a tripod that holds all the camera angles is perfectly suited for this.